Hello there and welcome back to Good Morning Sri Lanka. You're with me Harit on the 17th of January. So from Megara to Ashok, we discussed how the access to legal education is increasing. Now the numbers of lawyers passing out, I understood from my research last year in December, 700 new young lawyers to courts. This is quite a large number. Now there were years where it was about 200, 300 and now it's come to 700. I understand in the next few years it's going to be thousands. So many institutes. Do you think the increased access to legal education has an impact, negative or positive, on the legal profession?
First of all, addressing the point of private education, which increases the access to education, I am in favor of private institutions, not only because I study at one, it's also because I think the amount of intake in the local government institutions is not sufficient. They may be sufficient for what is existing, but the number of students who are without an option to pursue their higher education, I think these private institutions are necessary. Moreover, coming to the legal private education in law, I see most of these universities are English universities, and most of those papers are marked back in England by the university lecturers themselves. So I think the standards are thus maintained, because I come to a conclusion that the standards are maintained because English universities are very much concerned in maintaining their standards, because their standards are analyzed, assessed every year, and they have to compete with that. So in that aspect, I think the standards are not compromised. But then again, about the numbers passing out every year, as I said earlier, since this profession is very much diversified, I don't think all 700 are going to get into the courts to practice. So they have other avenues to move through. And these days the corporate sector, as I see, as most of my friends who have entered into the corporate sector, they go with a law degree and they are very well accepted into that, because the legal syllabi is very intensive, the study program is very intensive, and a person who has completed that has done it through with an immense task. So I don't see that as a negative aspect. I see that as a positive aspect.
Right. We'll come to the discussion about, yes, indeed, the numbers increasing is a good thing. We need more lawyers. There needs to be more access to justice. But of course, should the numbers be regulated in a way that the quality product, as we said, the end product is a quality lawyer. Megara, I'll come to you. Now, you are from the law college. Now, the law college has been there for, I think, a couple of centuries or century and a half or so. And, it has come a long way. Do you think that it is perceived as somewhat a threat that there is an increased access to legal to private? Because you do come from very competitive exam into the law college, which is very difficult, and then you pass through 3 grueling years at the law college. Do you think the opinion of a law college student, is it something that you all think about?
Well, it's always a personal opinion what you just explained, whether they have some kind of a prejudice towards private educated students. But basically, once again, all students studying private education come back to law college to get their to do the attorney finals. But basically, what I understand right now in the present context, there is no such situation where law college students have some kind of a negative attitude towards private educational students. But once again, as a whole, the law students of law college, I think also in law faculty, are concerned about the standard of education, to maintain it, and as we spoke earlier, to maintain the quality and the status of the profession, to maintain it and take it forward. I think that is the concern of students right now, and that is what it should be.
Now, when we talk about legal education, there is something that we discuss about reading law, research in law. Now, these two things, see, when we were doing our advanced level, maybe some of us, of course, did a little bit of note copying, putting in a copy paste onto the exam paper, studying for the exam paper, and so on. Of course, when it comes to tertiary education, that concept changes. Now, do you think in the current trend of law students, not at your institutions, Megara, I'll start with you. Ashok, I'll start with you. Do you think that law students are as involved as they should be in reading law, in researching law? Is there a critique of the law you learn, or is it just what you hear and what you know?
Well, since I do a British degree personally, from my personal experience, what I see is whether you like or not, you must read, You're made to read widely because of the British examination standards. Because those examiners there, they make it clear even in the start of the course, they make it clear in the guidebook that they expect wide reading, and they expect that in our answers. So without that reading, with the traditional note taking and copying process, that is not going to work. And they moreover, in the examinations, they expect us to critically analyze legal questions, so which needs wide reading as well as critical thinking. In that perspective, I don't see you can easily get through a legal education by following the traditional note taking, copying, memorizing process. I think you need to read widely, and those resources are also provided to us. I don't think the similar resources are widely available in Sri Lanka, but doing a British degree, they have very huge reading lists. I mean, they have a lot of books and academic literature. They have a lot of academic literature for centuries and centuries bundled up, and the best part is they have electronic access to that. So everything is electronified, and you can access through internet, and they give you access to all their libraries.
I think something that the Sri Lankan legal system is slowly grasping, and we are coming there. Of course, Sri Lanka has a very elaborate legal history, and I'm sure the students at law college do experience that from the beginning. Of course, something that we see with the law college is now the recent issue about this law college entrance exam. Of course, setting aside the politics, Vidar, what do you think about this entrance exam being so competitive? Do you think it reflects the characters that a law student needs to come into law college, or do you think that the exam needs to be changed?
Well, it's like this, Harith. Now 10-20 years back, there were only like 400 students sitting the law entrance exam, out of which like 100 or 250 were selected to law college. So back then the exam paper was not very complicated as it is now. But now again the situation has changed, and around 8,000 to 10,000 students sit the law entrance exam, and only 250 are selected. So obviously there is an expectation for it to be competitive, for that 250 to get selected. And of course there are many private institutions doing law entrance tuition to make sure that students successfully face the examination. So I think that is the main reason for the competitive nature of the examination, that there are many more students interested in law, as you said. I think that's also the reason for the emergence of many private institutions providing law legal education.
Interesting. Also, gentlemen, something that has come up is, should law be taught in one medium? Now, in most of the practice of law, English is, even in outstation, even in Colombo, English is a much used medium of instruction. Much of the resources you mentioned are available in English. Now, currently, Migara, at the law college, has option of studying in Sinhala. I believe in the faculty of law also you have the same Sinhala and Tamil. That option is available. Do you think legal education should change to reflect the profession, in that it should be taught in English? Ashoka, I'll begin with you.
Personally, I take it up in English, and I think
just in general, the legal education.
In general, what I feel is doing it in English is much better, because you get access to wider resources all over the world. So if you do it in any other medium, then again, to make references to other articles in search of journals and all those intellectual literature, you're going to find it hard to process it in English again, because we don't have enough translations done. So provided we have enough translations done into our own languages, then learning it in our languages might be easier. But at the present juncture, I think studying it in English is much comfortable and convenient because of the academic resources it provides.
Now, Migara, you would know how comfortable and convenient it would be, because you do encounter students at law college from all backgrounds. What do you think of this?
Yes, speaking of which, the importance of English language, as we discussed earlier about legal reading, how important reading is for law. Thereby most of the publications are in the English language. So in law college, since a few years back now, all lectures have been conducted in English medium. So all students have to participate in lectures which have been conducted in English medium.
I see.
And that also encourages them to sit the examination in English medium. But then again, there's an option for them to sit their exams in their more comfortable languages, Sinhala or Tamil. But then again, I think the approach taken by Law College was to provide the lectures in English medium so that the students are up to date with the English language and they get the exposure for English legal education. As the Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court, English language is widely used. So also in high courts and in lower courts in recent times. So that even in Sri Lanka, the importance of English language in legal education is becoming really important, to which I think other local institutions should cater into as well.
Final two questions, gentlemen. Going in from the language matter of legal education. Now, we've seen in the recent crisis, if I may so call it, a constitutional crisis in Sri Lanka, lawyers were in the forefront. Lawyers were making speeches, talking. Lawyers were also doing various things that were unbecoming of lawyers. Now, Ashok, if you agree with me on that front, what do you think? Do you think that legal education has been a reason for lawyers acting in such a way? Because if this same thing would have happened 50 years ago, I would think that the lawyers would not have acted in such a way. Not all of them, but some of them.
Well, lawyers acting, see, if they can do something within the legal brackets, they would have done, because they are already trying to do things within the legal brackets. But then again, we are a democratic society, and a lawyer is also a person and also a citizen. So if a citizen cannot make himself heard within the legal brackets, in a democratic society he tries to find other means like protesting, making himself heard to the government. So since you cannot do anything within the legal brackets, you have to get into other options. It's sad in a very democratic society. This situation is sad, but they are not doing it willingly. I believe they are not doing it willingly,
out of compulsion.
But they don't have any options.
Nigar, on the same question, on the same context, what do you think the role of a law student is? I mean, for example, we are worried about the independence of the judiciary. Should a law student then see a biased judgment and make a critique of it? Should a law student challenge the legislature in writing to the papers, etc.? What is the role through legal education of a law student as a wrap-up?
Coming back to the earlier topic of discussion about lawyers being in the social forefront, if we look at the world, all people who had been in the social forefront fighting for democracy and justice have been lawyers. From Mahatma Gandhi to Nelson Mandela, all have been lawyers. So I don't think that is conduct unbecoming, but then again, that is fulfillment of a social obligation which is taken up by lawyers. And back to your question right now about law students, I don't think a law student is competent enough to challenge the legislature, challenge the executive, and so on and so forth. But then there's a role that a law student can do with regard to the present crisis. What we understand is that there is very little public awareness about things going on, constitutional crisis, legal crisis. I think law students should start there, create public awareness, make the public more aware of what is going on, and start from that simple beginning, and then again go towards other levels as well, right? Such as writing for the media, writing for newspapers, and also go towards fulfilling that social obligation of a law student, and also making that positive contribution of a lawyer starting from a law student's life.
Right. Thank you, Migara, and thank you, Ashok, very much for being on the show. Indeed, I think there's definite hope. Noble profession will remain noble as long as gentlemen such as these, with these visions, with these ideals about the legal education system, will bring that same thing. And with that, we'll wrap up Good Morning Sri Lanka on this the 17th, and see you tomorrow.